Welcome to Do-It-Yourself Eliquid Recipes. I'm John, I'm a flavor compounder, and today I will go through 5 mistakes to avoid making in DIY mixing. These are not only things that beginners might do, but a general advice for anyone making their own e-liquids. I will start with the first one, which is buying too much of a single flavor. This is something that all of us have done at some point. Maybe, for example, we hear a lot online about Vienna cream from Flavor Art or Capella's vanilla custard, and we ordered a big bottle. So even though it seems more logical to buy more since it's a good flavor and cheaper that way, but if you haven't tried the flavor, it would be better to maybe buy 2 small bottles of the same type of flavor from 2 different companies and find for yourself what appeals better to your palate. You might find a recommended flavor to be too intense or have odd aftertaste to you personally, so it's always best to start smaller if possible. Now moving on to number 2 will be not trying each flavor individually. Now I'm not talking about making 50 different batches with each one of your flavors, of course, but what I mean is to try your most commonly used flavors alone to get a base judgment. Trying your flavors solo help you get familiar with their taste and understand how they would work in a recipe. That could eventually help you identify individual flavors even in commercial juices that you buy, and could even help you cloning them too. This also goes for nicotine, propylene glycol, and vegetable glycerin. Try them individually to see what kind of taste they bring in your recipes. I wouldn't recommend trying propylene glycol or nicotine alone, so an even 50-50 mix would be my recommended starting point for testing all 3 together. Next is number 3, keeping nicotine in room temperature. This is most likely an issue for someone that goes through their e-liquid slowly or have bought a large amount of nicotine. There will be minimal degradation within 2 or 3 weeks, but if it takes you longer than a month to go through a bottle of nicotine, then consider keeping it in the fridge. Storing it in a cool temperature with no light exposure can help preserve nicotine from 6 up to 12 months. But I have seen reports of nicotine being stored in a freezer for almost 3 years with very little changes to taste or the strength of the liquid. Next is number 4, getting overwhelmed and wanting to buy every flavor available. This is the biggest problem for some people than others, but in general we all suffer a little bit from this. Maybe because it's the feeling of collecting items or just human curiosity to try everything new. The thing is, if you see it as a hobby, then why not try to collect complete lines of flavors if possible, like some people would collect shoes or video games. And thankfully, flavors are not that expensive to buy in small amounts. Personally, I like collecting profiles. For example, I find something that I like, let's say peaches or cola, and I try to buy every single one that I can find. This helps me see how each company approaches a flavor, and if maybe one of them was inspired by another company's product in the beginning. Either way, try to not buy more than you can use within 12 to 16 months, and at the end, empty flavor bottles make for a nice collection if organized properly too. And for the last is number 5, making big batches of a new recipe. This is something that I have done too, and sometimes still happens today. I find a recipe that I think is good, or I come up with a combination that I think would work and go and make 50 or 100 milliliters of it, since I believe that of course it will taste good. Most of the times it turns out good, or at least vapeable, but the times I missed, I had to go and throw away a large amount of e-juice when I could have come to the same result by just using 5 or 10 milliliters instead. Also, I don't think there ever was a time that I made a recipe originally and I thought it was perfect. There are always changes that come up or adjustments, so it makes more sense to try a few different small batches until you come close to the flavor you were aiming for. Alright, so this is the first 5 parts I wanted to discuss. There will be a follow-up video this weekend on this topic again. Let me know what you think personally. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for watching and see you next time.